I always say I wouldn't be what I am if it weren't for my mom. Her mom, my maternal grandma, was one of the biggest influences in my life. She was the true matriarch of our family. And the day school let out, we would head over to my grandma's house and she would have all these grandkids just hanging out. And I think which is what contributed to us being so close. That's where I think I've learned most of my life lessons.
All right. Well, hey guys, welcome to the 11th episode of the Story Project podcast. Today, I am so excited to finally have my friend, Dr. Meghna Dassani, with me today. Welcome, Meghna.
Oh my gosh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so pumped to have you with me today on this episode. And you guys are going to love we're going to dive into her story and her why and kind of like who she is. And so I always like to start the episodes though first discussing how we first met. And if I remember correctly, I believe we first met you at, I think it was the 2018 Delivering Wow Summit in Jamaica. And that was my first opportunity hearing you speak. And that was fabulous. And hearing your passion and everything you're all about. So I think that was it, right?
I think so. Yes. I mean, I've always seen you guys and all the fabulous work that you do, but yes, in person, I do believe that was the first time our paths crossed. I'm so glad they did.
I know. And then last year we sponsored the Airway Summit, which was really such an incredible educational event. One of my top favorites. And the rest is history. Absolutely. Before we dive into your story and kind of the real heart of the conversation, I always like to ask a few questions just as icebreakers. So first, because I'm a foodie and I bet you probably are too, what is one of your favorite foods? And it could be from India or from, American food, what's one of your top faves?
Yeah, I'll eat food as long as it's food, but by way of favorite, I still go back to what I grew up eating. My mom makes biryani a certain way.
Okay.
And that is, I think, hands down, my favorite thing to eat on this planet, for sure.
Can you describe that for me? What is that?
So biryani is a rice dish.
Okay.
It's the rice version of lasagna, for lack of a better word. So I'm vegetarian, but it can be made with chicken, lamb, whatever meat you want. But the way my mom makes it is vegetables and spices are made into almost like just a mix together. And then it's layered with saffron basmati rice. And that gets baked and it is so delicious.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds heavenly. I would love that. Absolutely. Sounds really good. And then what about favorite vacation spot?
Anything by the beach. I'm a water baby. So if it's by the ocean, that's my go-to.
Awesome. I might have to agree with you. Or for me, it might be mountains. I'm a little bit torn. If I'm on a mountain, my soul is really satisfied.
Yeah.
But that's hard but the beach is right up there for sure.
Right.
And then I know that you and I also connected. You were at the Do Retreat and you spoke there as well last fall, November. And that was such a great event as well.
It is.
Do you remember your top 5 strengths from the Clifton Strengths Finder, or at least even your top 2? Do you remember?
I honestly do not. I know we took that test and I meant to dig out my report and look at it.
Yeah.
And then patience happens. So I honestly do not.
Okay. Well, maybe next time, round 2, if you find them, I personally want to know, because I just always geek out on strengths, because it's so interesting, especially your top few, It tells you so much about the person. Well, before we get into the dentistry side of your story, I want to go back a bit. I know that family is really important to you and you have a very large family. I've seen photos of how big your extended awesome family is. So tell us a little bit about your fam and where you grew up.
So I was born and raised in Mumbai, India. I lived there for 27 years, the first 27 years of my life. Family is huge, just within the Indian, I guess family is big everywhere, but how we were raised and even in the Indian culture, it forms the cornerstone of everything that you do and how it shapes you. And I come from a large extended family, like you said. My father has 6 siblings, and my mom has 7 siblings as well. And I grew up in an extended family with some of my dad's brothers, my uncles. But I was super, super, super close. And I think that's the picture you saw with my mom's side of the family. Like my cousins and we're all within this just a span of few years. So we were all raised together. And I have one sister, but I always tell people, well, I have so many brothers. And they go like, really? You have like 7, 8, 11 brothers? And I was like, well, let me tell you how that works. So yeah, super close to all of them.
That's awesome. That's so amazing. So did you have a family member growing up there that was a big, influence in your life? Like a parent or anybody a part of your extended family that really impacted you?
Yeah. I always say I wouldn't be what I am if it weren't for my mom. That being said, her mom, my maternal grandma, was one of the biggest influences in my life. Growing up in a traditional Indian family, she never worked, she was the classic Indian housewife. But all of her children did school, businesses, are professionals, grandkids too. She was the true matriarch of our family. And we are Facebook friends, and you've seen a lot of my stories come from what I heard or learned from my grandma growing up, because summers were there. My mom never saw me in the summer because the day school let out, we would head over to my grandma's house and she would have all these grandkids just hanging out. And I think which is what contributed to us being so close. But also, that's where I think I've learned most of my life lessons. I learned a lot of my business skills from my grandpa, watching him run his business. And I do believe it's truly what's shaped me into who and what I am as a human being, as a business owner, of course, as a mom, because I have my mom and her to look up to. But I'd say these 2 women actually have molded me into what I am.
That's so incredible. I remember I had some summers where my grandma lived about 2 hours away, and she's passed on, but her name was Grandma Mercedes. And so Aaliyah, her middle name is Mercedes after my grandma, and she was my mom's mom. And any time we could spend weeks out there, I mean, I truly believe my life is enriched and was enriched from those special, special times with my sweet Irish grandmother. I mean, the stories they tell, the things that they pass on, like you said, the life lessons, I mean, they're priceless. They really are.
True. Yeah. And you can apply it. It's not, I tell my girls the same thing. Yes, she taught us this, or we did this how many years ago? But you can apply it to everyday life, even now.
Absolutely. Well, you're a mama to beautiful teenagers. So tell us about your kiddos, and you'll have to remind me of like their ages and what are they up to this year?
So yes, I have 2 girls, 16, she's almost 17, and 14.
You're right in the thick of it.
Oh my gosh, yes. But thankfully they're good kids, good kids. I couldn't have asked for better kids. They are all about tennis. They have both played tennis since they were 3, 4. before the rackets were bigger than them. And it's been a passion. So they even, all of this summer, they're out of the house at 8 o'clock, don't come back until 4:35. And they're just on the court in the Texas heat.
Wow.
Yes. So that keeps them busy. Just, their life revolves around school tennis. They're on the varsity team and practice, but they truly are my joy. I'm fond of saying this: if I've done one thing right in life, it's these girls.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. What's been your greatest joy raising, these two young women for you?
Especially as teenagers, everybody, when they were little, everybody said, oh my gosh, I heard one of two stories. It's going to be so much easier when they're grown up. Not, they need us more. But also, oh my gosh, teenage girls. And I'll be honest with you, these two are literally my best friends. They keep me on the straight and narrow. I'm the one that needs to be reined in a little bit sometimes. And just the empathy and the kindness that I see them show towards other people, other even animals, living beings, it has me in awe a lot of times. It's like, wait, I made you and I raised you. They're just incredible human beings. They're so kind, so thoughtful. It blows me away.
It's amazing. I love how we can learn things from our kids.
Yes.
I love that so much. Mine are 12. My daughter's 12, and then my son is 16. So I can identify a lot with what you're saying for sure.
Yeah. I didn't cry when my older daughter, kindergarten graduation or any of their bigger milestones. I've never gotten all emotional, but the day she got her driver's license and I handed her the keys to the car, it's like, oh my gosh, you really don't need me anymore, do you? I love chauffeuring them around.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't have this time with you. Don't you agree? It's the best quality conversations.
Yeah.
Those car rides they're amazing.
They are. I completely agree. Especially if you really are intentional and you have one of them, in the car, then they'll open up more, and my son can tend to be more introverted and quiet. So anytime he's in the car, like alone, I'm asking the things, so like get him to open up and tell me how he is. Yeah, for sure. What do you think has been your biggest challenge? And then how have you navigated that raising teenagers?
The biggest challenge, I would say, is trying to empower them with the knowledge that they are enough in this world of social media and access to everything and everybody at the click of a button or at our fingertips.
Yeah.
It's very easy at this impressionable age for kids to feel like they're not enough, to feel like they lack, and not for material things, but that they're not what that person is or their friend is, or why can't I do this, or why can't I do that? And just getting that to them, you are who you are. That is your superpower. Nobody else does X, Y, and Z the way you do it. And that's what makes our universe what it is. So I think that's where I worry about giving them this message that you are perfect, you are complete, you are exactly who you need to be, and try to be somebody else. You are your own superpower.
Yeah. That gave me goosebumps. I love that so much. And it's just such truth, especially in our society. Your uniqueness is your superpower. Like the way you were made, who you are, your giftings, abilities, your quirks, right? I mean, even your failures, your strengths, all of it. I love that so much. And they need to hear that 24/7.
over and over. Yes.
Yes. That's amazing. You're such a good mama. Well, let's dive into a little bit about dentistry because, we all love dentistry.
Yeah. I do love teeth.
Yeah. I believe you. Tell us just briefly, how did you get into dentistry? Because I actually don't know that I know that story. And then, I'm sure there was some type of inspiration or someone who inspired you to go down this road.
It is a rather funny story. So I became a dentist when I was 8 years old. And
That's very
growing up,
early.
very much so. And it was not over here. No, no laws were broken. Like I mentioned earlier, I was born and raised in India, in Mumbai.
Mhm.
In Mumbai, or in India rather, we live in apartments, right? And we lived on the 4th floor of this building, and we had a dentist that had a practice on the 1st floor.
Mm.
Indian summers are hot.
Mhm.
So anytime we had a long weekend or, we had any kind of break from school, I spent most of my summers with my grandma. I did tell you that, but if I was home, and our family was very comfortable, but it just wasn't the thing to have air conditioning back then. There's no central AC and we didn't have air conditioning, but it was still hot. But who had AC? The dentist on the 1st floor. So anytime I was home, I found myself gravitating to his practice, not because I cared about teeth. I mean, at 8, it doesn't mean anything to me. And I would, he seen me since I was a baby, and he allowed, I had the run of the place. So I'd walk in, talk to everybody, I'm sure I got underfoot a lot, but he never minded it. And I remember this one day I walked in, I skipped in, and his name was Dr. Iyer. And I skipped in and I was like, "Hey, Dr. Iyer, what are you doing today?" And our neighbor that lived on the 3rd floor was in his chair. She was my grandma's age, I'd say. And she had a loose tooth, and I kid you not, it was hanging on by a thread, but she was scared and she was in his chair. So he was a tall, towering, portly man with these glasses reading glasses that sat on the bridge of his nose. And he looked down at me and he goes, "Do you want to pull a tooth today?" And I was in heaven. I was in heaven. I'm the bomb. I mean, I'm everything. And I was like, "Really?" And he asked Amma, our neighbor, if he would mind. And she's like, "No, if you're here, I'm cool," because she's seen me. And so he numbed her up. I didn't get to do that. I wasn't that cool. He numbed her up. And I got to hold the forceps with him holding my hand, and I literally got to pull the tooth. So I think that is what changed the path of what I thought I wanted to be. I'm sure I wanted to be a doctor or an engineer or something. I don't remember anymore, but that was the day I was like, this is cool. My mom actually saved that tooth for me for the longest time.
That's awesome. That's such a cool story. 8 years old, you're pulling teeth.
She should have been able to pull it out herself, but I guess it was meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super awesome. Also that he let you, have that experience as a child, because obviously it turned out to be really impactful.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So your practice, Dassani Dentistry, is based in Clear Lake, Texas. When did you open your doors? And just tell us a little bit about what your practice is known for. What do patients experience when they walk through your doors?
Yeah, so I bought this practice from a retiring doctor. We're literally next door to NASA in a suburb of Clear Lake is suburb of Houston.
Okay.
And that doctor and I were in the same study club. When I moved back home after school and was an associate for a few years, I still wanted to keep up with the learning and all of that. So I joined a study club that was local, and I met this doctor, and we never talked about anything. I mean, things happen. And when I was ready to buy the practice, we looked at listings and I was like, oh my gosh, I know him. And he was more than happy to have me transition in because we had the same philosophy about dentistry.
Hmm.
And it was just, it's one of those things, it's meant to be. So I took over the practice in January of 2011. And when I took over this space, he was in a smaller office, which had 3 operatories. And that's all I wanted. I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to take great care of patients, and I wanted to set my own hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I wanted to do. But that's not who I am. We quickly outgrew that space. Because as soon as I came in, we implemented everything I could digital. We had completely digital. I've had the CEREC. We were milling crowns in office. We were treating sleep apnea. His patients had never heard of that. And as I started to do that, we outgrew that space. And I kid you not, when we were milling crowns, I'd like prep the tube, we'd scan, and then tell the patient, can you wait outside? And they're like, no, I'm okay. I'll sit here and I'll read. No, we need the chair. Please sit outside until, so we can see somebody else while this is milling. And that's not how I see myself practicing dentistry. Mm-hmm. So we quickly, took over a space next door that was much bigger. We're now in 8 operatories. And I am still a general dentist. I believe in taking care of my patients holistically, as a whole. How does their health impact their dental health and vice versa? What is the connection? I'll still do fillings, root canals, whatever it is that the patient needs. But a large portion of my practice is also some of these specialty procedures. We do a ton of LNAP. We go after periodontal disease the way it needs to be done. About 40% of my practice is focused on sleep apnea for adults as well as children.
What started you down that journey of sleep and, sleep apnea and airway, and how did all that happen for you?
Sleep apnea started as a newlywed, actually. We lost my husband's dad as, we were newlyweds. And the story we'd all grown to believe was that it was genetic. All the men in our family died at 56, and my husband thought that was what it was supposed to be. And I said, surely not. And that set me down the path of impacting his life. That's all I cared about. At that point, that was the only thing I had laser focus on. How can I make sure my family doesn't have to experience this again? And I started to have these, when I took over my practice, I started to incorporate these conversations into what I was seeing with my patients. And I realized I'm not special. There's so many people that are dealing with this and don't have the answers, like we don't have the answers. So, as I'm fond of saying, my family grew. I wanted to do it just for my family, but my family grew. It was now my office manager's dad. It was now that patient that walked in the door. It was our UPS guy. Like literally, we did not stop. Even the UPS guy was like, do you snore? And I kid you not.
Love that.
That was that. I guess people were looking for answers and just didn't know what was available, what was possible. And we focused on treating adults. We developed great systems. I'm a systems person. Give me something and I'll create a system around it. Built great relationships with our MDs around us, the dentists around us, and we helped patients. And as this grew and as, we started to do this more consistently, I had friends that would say, hey, can I come hang out at your office? Do you mind? No, come. Can my assistant come watch your assistant, see how you do whatever for this? Yeah, absolutely. And until a couple of them said, just put together slides and we'll bring our teams and we'll order in lunch and make it a weekend.
Hmm.
And so that's what happened. And
Wow.
while I was getting those slides ready, Christina, you met her. She's my office manager, been with me since day one. Um, stopped me at one. I had one single slide talking about sleep apnea in kids, what that can present with, what numbers do we look for? And that was it. And she said, you know what, doc, do you think that's Avery? And Avery is her daughter. She was pregnant with Avery when she started working for me.
Hmm.
And that stopped me in my tracks. And I said, oh my gosh, yes, because she has 4 children and they're all beautiful kids, and as is Avery, but Avery is that child that struggles the most.
Hmm.
She struggles at school. We're constantly telling her, be nice, be nice, be nice. She's constantly getting in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
She'll come to the office and go, I fell asleep at math class today. And yes, it's cute and it's funny, but I don't want a child falling asleep in class. What are we missing?
Yeah.
And that got me down the rabbit hole of, we are missing this entire group, this entire part of the population
Mm-hmm.
that is getting to adulthood before I can address them. Oh my gosh, I can fix this. I can
Yeah.
address it. I can help them sleep better at this age.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, rabbit hole is the right word. And once you go down that, there's no coming back.
That's so incredible, though, that you were able to develop so much of your research and everything based on not, I don't know, trial and error, but based on real life experiences with people coming to you. I mean, almost like you grew this entire base and foundation of what you're doing, like organically.
And I think it's because there still isn't enough awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Just yesterday, I had a lady reach out to me on Instagram saying, do you know anybody in Vancouver that can help my child?
Yeah.
It's not uncommon for people to fly to my office from around the country.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, it's very flattering, but this is not how it should be.
Right.
They should be able to walk down the street to their doctor and be able to have the answers, or at least know who they should be asking these questions of.
Yeah.
Getting help for their kids, because when a child isn't able to sleep, they're not breathing, we know it impacts IQ, it impacts learning, it impacts brain development. I don't want it for my kid. I don't want it for nobody's kid.
Yeah.
So sorry, did I go down a different rabbit?
No. Oh my God. No. You can do that all day long. The last time I heard you spoke at the Airway Summit, I think it was the most notes I've ever taken in my life. I couldn't type, and I was like, well, I can't type fast enough, so maybe I write fast enough, do shorthand. Yeah, no, I personally thank you just for the work that you're doing, the awareness that you're doing across the country, and I'm sure even globally. It's had such an impact on my own family, on how I evaluate my kids, who I send them to, and countless other families across the nation. It's incredible. And outside of running your practice, being a really awesome rock star mama, you're speaking, you are an author, you're training other doctors and their teams. And all of that kind of makes me feel like, woo, there's only so many hours in a day. And I really love to connect with women, especially successful professional mothers, on this podcast and talk about the fine art of this balancing act that we somehow find ourselves in between, juggling all the roles and the hats that we play and wear. And I want to take a few moments just to talk about the joy of saying no, because it's been kind of relevant to me lately. And I wondered if you and I might connect on this. I recently read this fantastic article from Ryan Holiday. He wrote it last fall, and I'll just spend a couple minutes quoting him. But he said, just because you are offered something that might be good for your career, that would feel good to your ego, that most people would have said yes to, doesn't mean you have to listen to your ego and accept the offer. You can say no. But in the last year, as the pandemic radically reoriented so many parts of everybody's lives, I was reminded painfully of what economists call opportunity cost. I've always been productive and disciplined, so I was under the impression that even with all my traveling and various projects, I wasn't suffering much for it. I was producing books. After all, I spent time with my kids. I was exercising. I was writing my daily emails, a monthly reading list email, and another weekly email. But in having so much suddenly taken away, I was given the gift of seeing what all that busyness was actually costing me. So the last 12 months have been the most creatively fulfilling and productive months of my life. It turns out that being home for bath and dinner every single night had a massive impact on my relationship with my young children, their behavior, and my marriage. And so because you have a lot going on, I have a lot going on. Every woman listening to this podcast, we all feel, right? And a lot of it is good. It's good stuff. It's opportunities for us to grow and thrive and what we're called meant to do. I wondered what your thoughts might be on, Ryan's perspective, and how do you navigate saying no to amazing opportunities? How do you navigate saying yes to the right things and no to all the rest?
Yeah, it just comes down to priorities. What is it that is important? For me, and I know it is for you too, at this point, it is my children.
Mm-hmm.
We only have them for so much time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Our kids are seniors now, right? My daughter's a senior. I have her for one more year. So the question I ask myself is this going to take time away from whatever? It may just be sitting at the courts watching her play a tournament. I'm never getting that time back.
Yeah.
So prioritizing that.
Yeah.
Asking for help is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. It takes a village to raise our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can, like he said, bath time. And of course, we don't have bath time. My girls are much older.
Yeah.
But if I can
home in the evenings and
if I can have somebody else do the laundry for me,
mm-hmm.
I will do that if it means I get to spend time with the girls.
Yeah.
And yes, saying no is hard. It's very hard, especially for me, because I feel I want everybody to be happy. I want to, I have this mission, I have this message that I want to spread,
mm-hmm.
but it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
And as long as we remember the why,
mm-hmm.
The money comes. And this is a very valuable lesson that I was taught. My grandma always said that you do the right thing. And if it's meant for you, the opportunity will return. The money will come back. The people will return too.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
So what is important at what stage and phase in life? And if I liken it to my dental practice, I currently work 2.5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't sit at home on Netflix the other days. I mean, there's other things that have to take priority too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying no to this to be able to say yes to the teaching, the speaking, the research, whatever it is that I am doing. I have to say no to, I don't know, pulling teeth if I want to do more sleep. I have to say no to a cosmetic case to be able to treat a child.
Yeah.
Where does that balance come in? So I completely agree. I'm 100% on board with it's okay to say no.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it can even be freeing. I imagine at times though, for you, it could feel, because your work is so missional, it could feel, I don't know, I would think burdensome that, am I helping enough people? Oh, and especially when people come to you tugging on your arm, help me, from anywhere from Instagram DMs to, I'm sure, emails to phone calls to your office, everywhere, because of what you're doing and accomplishing.
Definitely so. And I think boundaries are so important for that reason. Respectful boundaries.
Yeah.
But yes, because the only person that is getting burnt out is us.
Yes.
You have the same thing, right? You're doing everything while being mama, and who's pouring into our cup at that point is where we have to step back.
Completely. I love that. Well, and I'll end kind of that conversation with this. I think when we get better at saying no, we get to experience the benefits of the flip side of what was said above. So because everything you say no to means you're also saying yes to something else. And so to your point, like filling your cup, saying yes to the important work you want to do, right? If you want to do more sleep, you pull less teeth, to your health, to the people you love, your partner, your family, even to just a moment of stillness and solitude in our own busy life, you know? So I think that saying no to, you know, the things that we should be saying no to is really, it's just saying yes to more of our family, yes to us, yes to more of what we're, you know, supposed to be doing. So I'm a work in progress when it comes to all that.
We all are. We all are.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is recognizing that.
Mm-hmm.
And just the awareness is, I think it's the biggest step. Because think about it, it's so easy to sit in the ego of, oh my gosh, everybody wants me. I am so, you know, it's like I have all these people knocking on my door.
Yeah.
It's a high. It sure is. But what, like you said, what is the flip side? What is the price we're paying for?
Right.
It means, am I missing dinner with my kid because I'm out, I don't know, speaking or doing whatever?
Yeah.
Or seeing patients until late?
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean I get to miss whatever it is that our kids are doing? So yeah, I agree with you.
Well, before we go, Dr. Dassani, can you share a few last words just with our audience on the value of pursuing both success in your calling and career, but also on the home front with your family? Because I know that this is just, it's something that all of us, like, we're a work in progress. We're all doing our best. And so any words of encouragement from you?
It's hard is all I will say, but isn't anything worth having hard? I mean, if I want to lose 50 pounds, I got to put in the work.
Yeah.
If I want to have success, and again, only you, whoever you are, you and I, we get to decide what success looks like for us, right? My definition is going to be completely different from yours, but there's still both the right definition. Only we get to decide what success looks like in our professional life, in our personal life. And like I tell my girls, what you decide is what's perfect for you, and you are your uniqueness is your superpower.
Yeah.
And that's quite okay. A lot of the dilemma and the struggle that everybody has, be it in our professional life and, you know, in the dental practice, what do we compare things to? It's like, oh, what were your numbers like? What was production? What was collections? That's not what matters. It's, did it give you joy? Do you wake up, do you dread Monday mornings? That's my first question. If you dread Monday mornings, you're doing something wrong. If you dread summer break because your kids are at home, that needs to be fixed. You get to sit down and decide what success looks like for you. It could be working 6 days a week. And then structure your life around it. There's no right, there's no wrong. But it's hard. I would say that. It's worth having.
Especially the summer thing, you know, like
Oh my gosh, yes.
I know because we're all in it right now. I know that what you just said resonates with like hundreds of mamas all over the place because the kids are home and they're home 24/7. They might go to a camp here and there, but like, it's a lot. It's a lot during the summer for sure. Yeah. Well, I treasured this conversation with you. You are such a dear soul, Meghna. Thank you so much for just taking the time out of your missional work, and just thank you for everything that you're doing in our world to help people sleep better, breathe better, live better. Yeah, you're a really awesome person.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for thinking of me. And it was so good to see you and to connect.
Oh, it's good to see you too. If people want to follow you and stay in touch, what is the best place to do that?
I'm on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Healthy Sleep Revolution, or my website, meghnadassani.com. I'm very reachable.
Yeah. Yeah, you're everywhere. You do a good job. That's awesome. Well, a huge thank you to our audience, and to Dr. Dassani again for hanging out with us. And it would mean the world to me if you want to subscribe to this podcast and leave a review. That would be awesome. I love this amazing tribe of doctors willing to get on and share their story with me. So we will see you all next time. Bye, Dr. Dassani. Thank you.
Bye.